Hello guys, I'm back with some more League of Legends information. So today I wanted to go over something that I think is a little bit poorly understood or poorly looked into in the League of Legends community, and by that I want to talk about efficiency. So the normal way that people talk about efficiency is in terms of gold efficiency, which is okay, but to kind of recap briefly what gold efficiency is, each stat like AD, like attack speed, like stuff like that, can be given a gold value. The way that people normally do that is you look at the lowest cost variant of that item and you figure out how much does a particular point of that stat cost. For example, for AD, you look at a longsword, it costs 350 gold, gives 10 AD, which means each point of AD is just defined as costing 35 gold. This is useful because you can look at other items and kind of get a metric on how efficient are they. Like Bloodthirster has 55 AD, and so you can tell that, okay, this 55 AD is worth this much value relative to the whole, and then you can kind of like sum them all to figure out, is this item efficient? Or is this item not efficient? And try to do it that way. I think this is flawed in that it doesn't really tell the whole story because it is entirely champion agnostic. What I mean by that is buying a death cap on Riven, death cap could be incredibly gold efficient, but buying a death cap on Riven sucks. Like you get no value at all from it, so you should never do it. But gold value and gold efficiencies don't tell you that. So what I wanted to do today is kind of derive a better statistic that I'm going to be calling performance efficiency. And the way that I did that is, well, but the way that I did that is I basically sat in a practice tool for every single ADC. Let me move over here. We'll get to that in a minute. What I did is I sat in the practice tool for every single ADC and I calculated how much does their DPS increase per point of attack speed that you buy at level 1, level 13, and level 18. And what I did then is I plotted them all. Basically, yeah, just like these bonus attack speed values I used. This is the DPS, this is the percent increase, and I plotted them all to get the slope. What this slope tells us is this is how much their base DPS increased per 100 points of attack speed, or 100% basically as a percentage. And so it basically tells us how hard did they scale off this attack speed at each individual level. And like I said, I went through and did this for every single ADC, and this is what I found. Well, I would like to note that I didn't do Senna because Senna seemed really hard because Senna increases her AD as you go through the tests. And I wasn't sure how to deal with that because I was doing a slope thing, so it would like slope it up as we went along, and there were a ton of complications, and I just decided not to do it. So, Senna lovers, I'm sorry. Another thing I'd like to mention is that at level 13 and level 18, the runes I used had attack speed in their runes, but no other AD or attack speed increasing effects. Nothing that would basically skew the test. And for those ones as well, I used every attack speed enhancing ability that the champion had, like Ash Q, like Caitlyn, or not Caitlyn, like Draven W, like Ezreal passive. I used all of those in those tests to get like a real fight example of how much their DPS increases per point of attack speed bought. And yeah, so this is what I found. Here's an ordered one. Here's just alphabetized. And let's look at the ordered one first. And we can also look at a handy graph that makes it a little bit easier than just looking at a bunch of numbers. But what we find is that it's skewed, like there's a pretty big difference depending on which champion for like how efficiently they use attack speed. For example, Jhin, zero point 0.2 basically, versus Jinx with rocket form, 0.76. So basically like Jinx uses attack speed really well compared to other ADCs, at least when she's in rocket form. When she's in Gatling form, she uses it worse than most of them. And the reason that is, this test is basically skewed towards how much total attack speed do you have before you buy attack speed. For example, Jinx with Gatling gun, her Gatling gives her like 110% attack speed. Same does Tristana's Q, stuff like Xayah W. This also includes the base attack speed you get per level, which is why stuff like Akshan, like pre and post buff, where he got an attack speed per level increase, the buff actually lowers his synergy with attack speed because he just has more of it already. He has more percent increase already. Another thing I'd like to point out is that this has nothing to do with a power statistic. Like, this has nothing about the champion's power. It's simply how much of an increase do they get from buying attack speed relative to their current power. Basically, like, if you multiply like, say a champion is 100 power and you double it, it goes to 200. But if you double a champion with 50 power, it only goes to 100. Both of those doublings would look the same here. So again, this is independent of base power of the champion or base power of their auto attack in any way. And so what I'd like to go is, what do I actually consider performance efficiency? And to do that, I have a fairly confusing spreadsheet. So I split this into level 1, level 13, and level 18. So they basically just repeat for each of the levels. And the three statistics I have here are the DPS increase that they get per 100 attack speed, the gold cost per a 1% increase, and then the percentage increase per 1,000 gold. These are the three statistics I thought might be interesting to really look at, because the first one, and this is the one I'm actually dubbing performance efficiency, by the way, is this is just a bare bones, like, how much percent DPS increase do you get from buying 100% of any particular stat, in this case, attack speed? So you see that Jinx gets 76.1% of that 100% attack speed buff, whereas Jhin gets 20% of it. So you literally, like, she's like 4 times ish, a little bit less, as efficient at using attack speed as Jhin is. And another way to think about this is, how much gold does it cost to increase your auto attack DPS by 1%? Again, Jinx with Rocket Form, it costs 33 gold for a 1% attack increase. Jhin, 126, so he's much worse at using it. And then another way, these are all just different ways to conceptualize. These all say the same thing, basically. They're just different ways to think about it. And then this is the percent increase per 1,000 gold. So for every 1,000 gold Jinx spends on attack speed, her Rocket Form auto attacks do 30% more damage, versus Jin's autos do 8% or 8% more damage. And specifically, I'm going to dub the level 13 DPS increase per 100 points of the stat as performance efficiency, because you see that these the DPS increase changes slightly as you go up in level and down in level. Like, you see that here it's 90%, then 76%, then 73%. And so I'm using 13. Honestly, this is fairly arbitrary. Entirely fairly arbitrary. But I tend to use level 13 as the time that ADCs get 3 items. Again, really arbitrary, but you had to do this, I figured it was fine to just pick one. And level 13 is also the time when you get your second ability maxed. So you have 2 abilities maxed at rank 5, 2 points in ultimate. This seemed like a good understanding of a champion's power, so it seemed fine to dub the level 13 value as the performance efficiency of the champion. Also, for graphical people, here are just a couple graphs that show you, like, the percent increase per 1,000 gold. And it's just another way to see, like, the ordering of how well different champions use attack speed and relative to each other. And then again, level 18, these are ordered the same. So this is ordered based on level 13's values rather than level 18 values, just so that it's a little bit easier to compare. I know the level 18 graph doesn't look as nice then, but I thought it would be easier to compare. And then this is the performance efficiency, like the level 13 value, and then the DPS increase level 18 value. As you'll see, the statistics don't really change too much, which is why I was like, level 13, that's fine. And so I've already touched on this a little bit, but what doesn't this mean? Again, these statistics are not a reference of actual power. They're a reference of how well the champion uses attack speed relative to their base. Again, this isn't saying, like, that the champion has to buy this. Like, it's not saying that Jinx has to buy attack speed. This also doesn't say anything about how well they use AD or how well they use on hits or anything like that. Like, the current Akshan build is get a bunch of on hits and get like Ginsu's, I think. And it does a ton of damage because Akshan's efficiency with on hits and stuff like that is crazy high relative to most champions. So it kind of outweighs this performance efficiency of almost 40%. And so this is only one small facet of how much damage a particular champion does. But as we go along, we might be able to kind of fill in those holes. And that's kind of my plan. I started with attack speed because attack speed seemed like the easiest one to really conceptualize and do, because all it affects is auto attack DPS basically. AD on these champions is a little bit more confusing. And so if you'd like to see me actually start building those videos, leave a comment. Let me know. I would be happy to, and I'm definitely going to look into it. But just, yeah. I hope that you guys have a great night or day. And yeah, see you next time. Bye-bye.